Hi, I'm George the Weather Dad, and if you're like me, we love summertime. I especially love the summertime heat. But at times, the summertime heat can get a little excessive, and that can have an adverse effect on our bodies. With that said, we're going to be talking about the heat index on today's weather classroom. What is it, and how do we prepare when the heat indexes are pretty high? In the summertime, the sun is very high up in the sky. We have very long days, and the combination of two, well, we could really get that temperature up there. And if that temperature stays high for an extended period of time, we then have a heat wave. Did you know that heat waves kill more people annually here in the United States than hurricanes, lightnings, tornadoes, floods, and earthquakes all combined? When the temperature gets very high and we have a lot of activity outside, our bodies are really pretty well adapted, and we have an internal mechanism called sweat. Sweat will happen on our arms and our faces, on our bodies. And what sweat does is it wants to evaporate. And that's what we call evaporative cooling. When it evaporates, it helps cool our bodies. However, when the humidity levels are high with very high temperatures, that sweat has a hard time evaporating, which means our internal temperature, body temperature, will also start increasing, and that's when we start getting into trouble. The National Weather Service has come out with this chart with heat index. Now keep in mind, these aren't actual air temperatures. These numbers, it's a combination of relative humidity, how much water is in the air, with a given temperature. So if we're in the 80s with these type of relative humidities, well, we're in the caution area. So you need to kind of take it easy a little bit there. And in this grouping here, we're in the extreme caution. In this area, it's in the danger. You can see the temperatures there in the triple digits. But when you get into this red, that's extreme danger. That's the heat index. Again, it's the combination between how much water is in the air and the actual air temperature. So what does that mean? Well, with a heat index between 80 and 90, fatigue is certainly possible with prolonged exposure with physical activity. 90 to 105, sunstroke, heat cramps, heat exhaustion are possible, especially if you're doing a lot of activities, a lot of sport activities out there, and if you're not drinking a lot of fluids, you could have some trouble here. The heat index between 105 and 130, sunstroke, heat cramps, heat exhaustion are likely, and now we throw in heart stroke, which is now possible, and if you're over 130, well, it's just a very dangerous situation at that point. When we see a heat wave coming, the National Weather Service will put out some terms, such as a heat advisory. That means you need to start taking action and issue within 24 hours of the onset of extreme dangerous heat. Excessive heat watch means be prepared. Conditions are most likely going to happen within the next 24 to 72 hours. Excessive heat warning means it's pretty much already here. The bottom line is we can enjoy summer, but when the heat indices get that high, we need to dial it back, sit back, and drink a lot of fluids. That's today's weather classroom, the heat index. I'm George, the Weather Dad.